And we're going to go to line 2. Thank you for waiting patiently. Bruno, how are you tonight?
Just fine, Jonathan. I'd like to talk to you tonight about the scope of the Public Utilities Board proposed review. But before I do, I just want to make a brief comment about a creature that's totemic to me that I think you somewhat misrepresented. Wolves. I don't know if you're aware of it, but a wolf has never been known to kill a human being in North America.
Oh yes, I'm aware of that.
Why would you want to shoot one on sight?
I wouldn't. Unless it was coming after me, and I was panicking, and I happen to have a rifle. But I don't have a rifle, so it wouldn't happen.
Well, they're not going to attack. They never have. And anyway, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yeah, well, as to what the gentleman with his small child on the snowmobile was thinking at that time, I guess it's a different story. But, you know, it's a good point, and I'm glad you raised that, Bruno. Wolves don't kill humans. Well, listen, we only have a couple minutes before we have to go to the news, so we can't talk about the entire scope of the PUB, but try and narrow down one specific point, and let's roll with it.
I will. You know, in the developing democracy, a stable, resilient power grid is an essential part of the social contract.
Mm-hmm.
Through a massive neglect and incompetence, Nalcor has betrayed that social contract, and the chaos ensued that resulted ultimately in Kathy Dunderdale paying the price for her insensitivity to the people. Regulatory bodies protect consumers from the excesses of protected monopolies in a functioning democracy. Nalcor's refusal to disclose to both the Joint Review Panel and the Public Utilities Board left them both unable to determine if Muskrat Falls is indeed the least cost option. Bill 29 and the Nalcor bill enshrine this secrecy. Now, Nalcor ignored their consultants on the need for upgrades, and they canceled planned and necessary upgrades when Muskrat Falls was sanctioned. This is all clearly documented in the public record.
Sure is.
Now, unhindered by regulatory oversight and powerful backroom politics, Nalcor played Russian roulette with the grid. Rolling blackouts happened, you'll recall, before any storm. The neglected backup systems failed and chaos ensued. So that's the history. And now when you look at the scope of what needs to happen in this PUB review, one cannot reasonably look at the reliability going forward of the power system in Newfoundland and Labrador without taking Muskrat Falls into account.
Yeah, and that's why it looks like that Newfoundland Hydro and Newfoundland Power are disputing that right now in these hearings, and that's interesting. It's a good point that you raised, Bruno, and that's what's happening. There is an open dialogue about this, and we're all paying attention down here in the province. I don't know what you're doing up there in Cape Breton, but obviously you're paying attention to it as well, and we'll find out what happens in the days to come for sure.
Well, when you look ahead at what's going on, there's great cause for concern.
I got 1 minute for you, Bruno. Sorry, we got to go to the news.
There's 1,100 kilometers of transmission lines that Nalcor's consultants, MHI, once again recommended that they build to the highest standard, 1 in 500 years. Nalcor ignored that. And the other thing that really needs to understand is that MHI also warned them that the condensers for the conversion units, the ones that turn AC into DC and then the DC back into AC once they go to the other side, are without a backup condensers. The cost of those backup condensers is $1 billion, billion with a B, Jonathan, and they don't plan on having those spare parts. And MHI, Nalcor's own consultant, has warned that when a problem happens with those condensers, that the system may be down for 6 months or longer.
That's interesting. I'm going to have to look into that because I'm not so sure that they would refuse to have the parts. No, and I do take issue with the word ignored in the sense that Nalcor ignored the recommendations. I think considered and weighed the options would be, the other way to look at it. But we're going to have to continue this another time. Bruno, I have to go to the news. I'm afraid our time is up. So I'm going to wish you a good evening, and we'll have to talk about this at another time. All right? We got to go take the news.
Okay, we'll talk about it again.
Sorry, I don't mean to talk over you, but you're talking over me. Have a good night, sir.